Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Right up until Election Day tomorrow to get the wins for this guy and put him in the White House. So what we thought we'd do today is, since Donald and I have known each other for 14 years now, known each other well, been friends for a long time, been opponents for a brief period of time, I thought we'd ask some questions for you all to be able to get to know him a little better, his vision for the country, and what's brought him to this moment in history to help to lead our country. So, how's that sound? All right. So, Donald, I know North Carolina is important to you. You have business here. Why don't you tell folks a little bit about that?
Well, I do. I love North Carolina, and I have a business. A lot of spirit in North Carolina, but I have a big development actually down the road, not so far away. Lake Norman, you know where Lake Norman? And it's Trump National, and it's been a tremendous success, and I took it over, a company built it, and they lost it, and went through a bankruptcy proceeding, and I bought it out of bankruptcy, and I spent quite a bit of money on it. We have a lot of employees, great people from North Carolina. We have employees, and it's a tremendous success. It's a tremendous job. We're very proud of it. And I come here, I won't be coming here as much looking at that. We'll come here looking now at the state to make sure your roads are in good shape and everything else. But it's been a wonderful job. We love it. A lot of people work there too.
And that experience, not only here, but what you've done all around the world in terms of building great businesses, I think folks are confident that if you become president, you're going to be able to do that same thing for our country. Tell them how you're going to do it.
Thank you. Well, I built, like this is one small example, but all over the world and in this country, and we submitted our papers to federal election because, as a private company, you never know. I mean, people don't know. And a lot of people said, oh, well, maybe he's not as rich as people thought. So we submitted almost 100 pages of documents, very, very powerful documents. And it really spells out the great company. We built an amazing company and very little debt, tremendous cash flow. You actually said you were shocked by the numbers,
Yep.
how big they were. It's a great company. And the reason I say that is because it's important. This is the kind of thinking we need in this country, our country. We have to, look, our infrastructure is a disaster. We have to build it on time, on budget. These projects, they end up costing 10 times more than they build a road and it ends up costing far more than they ever anticipated. Nobody knows what they're doing. And so it's one of those things. One of the things, Chris, that was interesting is fairly recently, 2 years ago, they went out to bid with the old post office in Washington, D.C. It's the single best location in Washington. And everybody wanted it, one of the most sought-after projects in the history of the GSA. Everybody wanted it, and I ended up getting it. And I got it because my financial statement was the best or right there, along with all these other great, in many cases, big public companies, hotel companies, and also because we had the best job, the best concept. We're going to build a tremendous super luxury hotel, one of the best anywhere in the country, and I think maybe the best in the country. But interestingly, I got it in the Obama administration. I mean, if you think about it, the Obama administration, everybody wanted it. All the major hotel companies, Waldorf Astoria, so many different companies wanted it. And what we have now, we started construction. We're over a year under in terms of schedule. We're a year ahead of schedule. We're right on budget, even under budget. And I'd be way under budget, except I upped the marble. We're using marble instead of terrazzo. We're using all of the finest materials, and I think in the end it'll be great. But the point is, it's under schedule. We're way ahead of schedule. We're over a year ahead. It'll open September, and it wasn't supposed to open for many, many months after that. And it would be great if, when we do the infrastructure of our country, we could be under budget and ahead of schedule. That's what we want to see.
And I think that relates to one of the big issues that you've brought up in this campaign, which is trade. And how would you bring the same kind of principles you've brought to building great properties, managing a great company, to our relationships with trade with other countries around the world?
Right, Chris. One of the biggest problems we have in our country is trade. We're bad traders. We have the worst people representing us. We have political hacks. No, we have political hacks. We have a trade deficit with China this year, $505 billion. Think of it, $505 billion. We have trade deficit with Japan that's shocking. We have, by the way, with Mexico. I have great relationships with Mexico and with Hispanic people. I employ thousands of Hispanics. They're great. But we have, with Mexico, a $58 billion trade deficit. And when I say we're going to build a wall, which we will, by the way, but we're going to build a wall, they love it. They love the wall. We love the wall. We love the wall. We're going to build a wall, folks. We're going to build a wall. Are you ready? Who's going to pay for the wall? 100% correct, okay? And you know, when I get off stage with like Marco, and I get off stage with Kasich, and USA, USA, USA.
All right. Now,
Thank you.
all right.
You know, it is amazing, though. We have rallies. We have tremendous rallies, sometimes 25, 30,000. We had one 2 weeks ago in Alabama, 35,000 people. No disruption, no nothing. But the press is now calling this saying, oh, but there's such violence. No violence. No, you know how many people have been hurt at our rallies? I think like basically none, other than I guess maybe somebody got hit once or something. But there's no violence. And you know, in Chicago, we canceled because I didn't want to see it. I mean, this huge group of people formed, like 3,000. We're going to have 25,000 people in Chicago. And they've given me a lot of credit, Chris, because rather than having the rally and having people fighting, because we feel great. The people that are supporters of Donald Trump want to see America be great again. That's what it is. That's what it is. I mean, it's simple. So rather than fighting in Chicago, I did something that was a good move, a good decision, because I don't want to see anybody be hurt. And what happened is, and we've been given so much credit for that decision, nobody hurt, nobody, no problem, went away. But because of that, people say, well, is there violence? There's no violence. There's love fests. These are love fests. And every once in a while, I mean, sometimes, like you just had, somebody will stand up and say something, and the police, who are so great, by the way, in all cases, I mean, They're great. But somebody will stand up and they'll say something, and a lot of times they're kids and they don't know where they're coming from, and they'll have a Bernie sign. Bernie's going nowhere, you know that. But they'll have a Bernie sign. Probably given to them by Bernie. I mean, they're the Bernie signs, the exact, you know, they're made by machine. They're made the same signs that you see. And, you know, possibly or probably given them to by Bernie's people. But it's a little disruption. But there's no violence. There's none whatsoever. And I'll tell you what. We go, and these things are so incredible. It's a movement, and it's a love fest, and we love each other, and we're going to do so well. And by the way, before we forget, Chris, so important tomorrow, North Carolina, you have to go out and vote.
Yep.
Have to vote.
Absolutely. And you've talked a lot at recent rallies about how you want to unify the country and how divided the country is now by this president and how you want to unify them. And I think people would love to hear about the way you want to do it.
Yeah, the country is so divided, it's incredible. And, you know, it's very sad when you look. And even when you have some of these protesters, the level of anger from all sides, including the anger from our side. We're angry. Now, we're not angry people, I'll tell you that. We're not angry people. We're all good. We're good people. But there's a lot of anger. And there's anger, Chris, at incompetence. There's anger when you look at the trade deals. There's anger when you look at our military where we can't beat ISIS. We can't beat ISIS. And, you know, there's anger at the fact that America, the United States, it doesn't win anymore. We don't win on trade. We don't win with the military. We can't take care of our vets, who are so important. We're going to take care of our vets. Education is a disaster. Education. Common Core we're getting rid of, by the way. We're going to bring education locally. But you just look at it. You just look at it. They're chopping away at the Second Amendment. We're not going to let that happen anymore. We're not going to let it happen. And I have to tell you, health care, Obamacare is a disaster. We're going to repeal and replace it. We're going to repeal it and replace it. But Chris, you know, a certain governor got up and spoke after a presidential address and sort of alluded to the anger. And the next night I was in a debate, one of the debates. You know, they say I've won every debate. I think I have. I think if I didn't, we wouldn't be here today, right? I would have been like the other people, out. But the question was, it was Nikki Haley, and she said, well, there's great anger, great. Like it's a bad thing. And they asked me during the debate, Nikki Haley said that you and a lot of your supporters have great anger. Now, I'm supposed to say, oh, no, we don't have anger. We're wonderful people. We're so happy with the way the country's run. I said, wait a minute. I'm going to tell the truth. I said, yes, I'm angry. Yes, the millions of people that are supporting Trump, and I'm supporting them, we're all angry because we're tired of a government that is run incompetently. We have incompetent people running our country. And I said, we're tired of the Iran deal, where we give Iran, a terrorist state, we give Iran $150 billion. We have prisoners in there for years. We should have never even started that negotiation until those prisoners were released. That I can tell you. So rather than doing the politically correct answer where I say, well, no, we're not angry, everything's just, you know, peaches, I said, we're very upset, we're very angry with the way our country is being run. And let me tell you, we're going to make changes. We're going to make this country so great again. But it's an embarrassment. I have friends from China. I have friends from Mexico. I have friends from Japan. They can't believe what they get away with. They can't even believe it themselves. We're like the whipping post for the whole world, whether it's in trade, no matter what it is. So we're going to go from the not-so-smart people. I want to say beyond that, but I'm not going to. We're going to go to the really smart people. We're going to go to the brilliant people. We're going to be respected again as a country. We're not respected at all right now.
And Donald, you brought up veterans. You know, here North Carolina has one of the largest population of veterans in the entire country, men and women who have served our country so bravely and so loyally. You mentioned, but you should talk about the plans you have for our veterans, because I know not only as a candidate, but before that, you were a great supporter of our veterans.
Well, I've had great support. They've also supported me, and I love the veterans. They're the most incredible people. They're our great people, and they're not being taken care of correctly. And illegal immigrants are getting better services and better care in many cases than the veterans, okay? It's not going to happen that way anymore. And you know, I've seen, and I've really, and it really started with the veterans, probably more in New Hampshire than any other place, which I won big, which we won in a landslide. We've won a lot of them in landslides. But every time we go to a place, South Carolina is another one. We're so